An SDR, senior leader, a team leader, floor leader. And I don't want to get into this motivational thing yet. So I know the food just came. Well, we're going to work on some of these things in the meeting. The last thing about last night was I just really got, I must have been asking the universe for it. Because I was like, boom, oh man. There are so many things that go into, from me to you, being successful at your job. And it's not about, for me, you being successful at your job first, believe it or not. I know that might sound like a really pretty story. Dave's painting a picture. He just really wants to get more out of me at work and make even more appointments. Yeah, that's down there somewhere, of course. It's not my first thought. My first thought is, man, there's so many people that are in their own way and don't even know it. And if you told them they're in their own way, what are most people going to do? Disagree. What'd you say, Curtis? Yes. Disagree. No, I'm not. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm like, man, how do I do it? I know my own kids. I know my third born. Said, Frank will tell you. Remember this story, Frank? Gian? Your stubborn brother. He's gotten much better now as a man. Yeah. But that moment when he was a kid and I'm telling him stuff like this, he goes, I know what you're doing. You might have been 12. What am I doing? You're just telling me all this because you're trying to get me to do what you want me to do. Wow. And I said, son, I love you. And I don't give an F what you do. I'm just telling you, these actions lead here, and these actions lead there. Do what the F you want. So, know that my heart's in the right place. You don't have to agree with everything I'm going to go over in this meeting. And you might encounter that in a lot of things that you're going to do or learn or go to seminars or be reading a book, or you're going to go get something from some motivational speaker who's going to act all that. And you might be, if you're like me, like, who's this clown, But you got to get past that stuff because that might have served you well at one point in your life, and maybe it's not doing so well for you anymore. So if there are any questions though, so last thing about last night was I noticed people with a whole bunch of different perspectives. And I know if you went to a team sport or an organization or you worked for a company, we got to get all that in line. We can all live different lives outside of here, but inside here, the culture, there is a format and a technique and a way of thinking, a perspective, a mindset that we all have to have the best chance to bend the law of averages into our favor for all of us to reach those different goals in life, whatever they may be. If we have a whole bunch of people doing a whole bunch of different things while we're here with a whole bunch of different thoughts, it's not going to happen. So I know, for example, brand new people especially, they come in and they have a lot of different thoughts. Especially if they haven't sold before, not just about Paramount, but about sales, right? And about people, and what people like or don't like, or whether someone's home at, nobody's going to answer the phones at noon. Why? Because noon is when Jimmy John's supposed to deliver the food, and everybody in the world eats lunch at noon. Dave, what's the point of even having workers work at noon? People don't answer the phones. But people believe this. And then with these beliefs or perspectives, what happens?
Find evidence.
They find evidence to support it. Of course. They got to justify it.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah. And then they die. Look. See, no one answered. It's noon. Therefore, I'm right. Now, if you just point out to them, well, wait a minute. I'm going to sit here right now and blaze the greatest hour anyone's ever worked. And set more appointments than you set in an effing week in 1 hour. Now what are you going to tell me? Well, that's just you. Or you got lucky. These people don't realize this is their program and it's setting them up for disappointment. So when I hear newer people tell me things like, no one's answering. Is that true in that moment? Possibly for that person. Yeah, they made it their truth. But think about the word they used to describe what was happening. No one is answering. No one? You worked 8 hours? Nobody? All the buyers left town. There's a buyer's convention. I think it might be in Philly today. And Dave, I would have got a lot of appointments, but nobody answered. What can I do? And where I'm going with all this is if your mindset or perspective is on something and you need that thing to justify where you are in life, you're going to find evidence to support it, and then you're going to starve and you're going to die. And then you're going to move on. Is there any, that's the thing that I worry about the most. Not so much you moving on, it's just that did I not give you something extra for your toolbox when you go? Because I just know that this is the part that has to get fixed first. It's not the skill set. I know somebody else last night said something about, well, maybe that they just didn't say the right line. None of that stuff matters. It's your perspective and mindset that says I can, and then you'll find evidence to support that. All customers are buyers. That's it. All the time, all. Oh yeah, Dave, what about when they say this? What about when they do this and that and they move to Russia and blah, 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 blah. Oh my God. You find out why someone is where they are. Of course there's exceptions, but if I allow a brand new person or somebody with a little bit of a cloudy mindset, that's probably not the most powerful for the Paramount culture. If I allow that to exist without a wholehearted, loving touch attempt and working on you fixing that, I feel like I'm allowing somebody to cross traffic who's never crossed traffic in the street before. Somebody who's about to step off a curb when the big red hand is up, and they just, throw your pants, bam! That's what I feel like when someone just says to me, yeah, we'll get him tomorrow, nobody answered today. Oh my God, where do I start? And then what do I risk? What an asshole.
Yeah.
This guy knows it all, don't he? And then you go like this to your, and who do you find that kind of yokes around with you? Another loser. Another person that ain't going anywhere. Anyway, go take your sandwiches, whatever pizza, and then we'll start our meeting. You can eat at your desk, and we'll start the meeting with that, okay? And then think about some questions.